Hello friends, so today I am starting my series on dynamic programming. So today's lecture would be giving the theoretical information about dynamic programming, and I'll solve one problem, coin change problem, and I will start from the beginning. So how do we start thinking about the solution of the program, and what are the different ways where we can solve the problem using dynamic programming. At the same time, I want to tell you that don't bother about the definition of the dynamic programming. Even if you don't know the definition of the dynamic programming, sometimes you solve the problem which is basically a dynamic programming. So take this theoretical part as just an introduction, but don't bother too much in case you don't understand the definition of the dynamic programming. We'll go through a problem first, and I'll show you all the steps how to begin and how to proceed further to solve a problem using dynamic programming first. So what is a dynamic programming? So there are two characteristics of a dynamic programming. First one is optimal substructure. What does it mean? It means an optimal solution of the given problem can be obtained by using the optimal solution of its subproblem. For example, finding shortest path between two cities. Let me give you one example. Here we have a graph, and there are 5 cities connected over here: A, B, C, D, E, and E. And these are bidirectional path. So you can go from A to B, also you can go from B to A. And if I want to find the shortest path between A to D, path is A to B to C to D. Another path is A to E to D. And what is the total cost? So from A to B it's 5, B to C it's 5, and C to D it's 7. So it's total 5 plus 5 plus 7, that is 17. And from here A to E we have 9, and E to D we have 2. So here we have 11. So shortest one is AED. What does it mean? It means if there is a shortest path between A to D which goes from E and it's 11, that also means that the shortest path between A to E and E to D is also 9 and 2. So this is called optimal substructure. Second property is overlapping subproblems. So what does it mean? It says there is a need to solve same problem again and again. Pre-computed results of subproblems are stored in a lookup table to avoid computing same subproblem again and again. So let me go back to our example. Okay, so second characteristic is overlapping subproblem, and it only means that you are solving few subproblems which are getting used more than once in your overall program. For example, if I want to find a path from A to D, let me write it somewhere else. A to D. So there are few ways to go there. So for example, I first need to go to A to C and C to D, or I can go to A to B and B to D, and A to C I can go from A to B and B to C, then this is C to D only, then this is A to B only, and this is B to C and C to D. So if you see, I need to solve here V to C, and same way I have to solve V to C here, and this is C to D and this is C to D, and this is A to B, this is A to B. These are the example of overlapping subproblems. So what does it mean? Once I solve one subproblem, I will store it somewhere. So I will say, okay, A to B shortest path is 5. So next time if I have to evaluate something, I will simply go ahead and do a lookup, and I will not solve this problem again. See, what are the two approaches to solve this problem? So there are two approaches. Number one is top down, which is basically recursion based plus memoization. I'll go through that. Second is bottom up, which is basically iterative plus tabulation. Okay, so let's see one example. So I am given an amount 10, and I have been asked how many ways are there to make amount 10 based on the type of coins given to me. So in this case, I have been given coin of 1, 5, 10 and 25, and I have to somehow make the amount 10. And also the condition says there are unlimited supply of these coins. So it means I have unlimited coin of 1, I have unlimited coin of 5, 10 and 25. So I can use as many coins of 1 or 5 or 10 or 25 to solve my problem. So it will have 4 solutions. So solution 1 would be, I can take 1 coin 10 times, so it will make the amount as 10. Same way I can take 1 coin 5 times and 5 coin 1 time, so it will make amount as 10. Third solution, I can take 5 coin 2 times, or fourth solution I can take 1 10 coin. So the total answer would be 4 for this problem. So let me try to write this solution. So I have created a coins array, amount is 10, and I am creating a function get number of ways, and I am passing it the coins array. The amount needs what I need to make, and 0 is the index. Basically I will use it to traverse through all of these coins array. Okay, so this is the function structure I have created. So I will take one variable called int ways. I will initialize it with 0, and at the end, once I am done, I can just return this value to the calling function. Okay, so how do we proceed? So first we need to traverse coins array to find out the number of ways to make an amount value here. So we'll traverse one by one, and we will be using index to know which coin are we traversing right now. So for example, we are starting from 0 here, so it means first we are taking coin 1. Now there are two possibilities which I can use. One, either use this current coin as a part of complete solution, so use 1 to create amount 10. Second, don't use 1, so directly go to 5, next coin, and try to make this 10 amount based on remaining coin 5, 10, 25. So there are two ways. Either I need to include the current index coin, or I have to exclude it. So, okay, so I will take two variable called including ways is 0, excluding ways equals 0. Okay, so if I want to include a coin, that coin's value should be less than the desired amount value. So for example, if I want to create an amount 3, so I can use this 1 coin, but I cannot use this 5 coin. Why? Because 5 is greater than the desired amount 3, so I cannot use it. So that's the thing. So I need to check condition before seeing if I can include this coin as part of solution or not. So if the current coin, that is coins of index, is less than or equal to amount, then only you try to find including ways. And again, you can simply call helper function, get number of ways. You need to pass coins array, you need to pass amount, and now I have to reduce the current coins amount which I have used as part of solution, because it's an including solution. So amount minus current coins value, coins of index, and I can leave this index as it is. So what I am trying to say, use this current index, include it, and again loop and use this current index. So it is like first taking 1 and reducing here, so it means I took 1 and now I want to find out 9, then again coming to 1. Okay, now I want to find out 8. So basically this is the solution 1. So I can use same 1 coin 10 times, so I can include it 10 times. So here, while including ways, I no need to increase the index because I am going to include same coin again and again. And while excluding, you no need to check any condition, because even if this current amount is greater than the desired amounts value, anyway we are going to exclude it. So you can just use this function, and here coins will remain same. I need to, because I am excluding, I need to increase the index, and amount will remain amount because I am excluding it. I am not using the current coins value. And at the end, I can simply say ways equals including ways plus excluding ways, and I can return this number of ways. Okay, so because it's a recursive function, right, I forgot to write any base case. So what are the base case we need to think? First base case which I can think of, if this index is going out of bounds, right? So if index greater than equals coins dot length, then simply return 0. 0 means it is not possible to make the amount using these coins. And second is like if my amount is going less than 0, so it means I need to return 0. What else? So we handle coins, we handle amounts, and what is the final solution? If our amount becomes 0, then this is our final solution. So we are trying to make 10, and we use 10 coins, and this function is running. So at 10th coin your amount will be 0. It means you have already found the solution. If amount equals 0, you just return 1. So this is the final answer. Let me run it. Okay, so here I see number of ways to get amount equals 4. So friends, this is the first solution I wrote once I got this problem. It's not mandatory to start with the basic recursive solution if you want to solve using dynamic programming, but because we are starting, so we just need to know how am I going to find out it's a dynamic programming problem. So here I see that this function is called many times with some parameters, and these parameters will be same for many sub problems. So it is going to be exponential time complexity. I will try to see what are the ways to reduce the time complexity. So first one is top down. So till now we have not done any dynamic programming concept, so it's just a simple recursive solution. Okay, so once I have written this in the first recursive solution, then I can start thinking. So what I am seeing, this function is getting called multiple times, and what are the variable indexes here? So coins, anyway it's an array and it's not getting changed, we are handling through index. So it means in every function call, index may or may not change, as well as this amount value may or may not change. So for example, here I am not changing amount but I am changing index, and here I am changing amount but I am not changing the index for next function calls. So what does a top down means? It means it's again a recursive solution. I start from the top. So for here what I am saying try to find out how many ways are there to create amount 10, and then it will reduce it to find out how many ways are there to create amount 9, then 8, and then 7. So this way we are going from top to down, and once we reach at the last function call of the recursive tree, then this value will be returned to its parent, and same way it will be returned to the final answer, and we'll find out that final 10 can be created using 4 ways. So that's why it's a top down approach. We try to solve we take a bigger problem first, and we try to break down this bigger problem in smaller problems, and we store those smaller problems result, and at the end we just return from the smallest problem to top at the top. So we start from top, we go down. Okay, so let me just update this solution so that it's a top down approach. See, memoization is nothing, just a way of remembering. You can use any lookup array. So for example, in Java you can use an integer array, or a map, or a hash table, or any other data structure you can think of, which will give you direct answer to the sub problem. Okay, so I need to create here one variable basically, and which should be able to store the answer. First I will see, okay, what are the parameters which are changing in each function call. So as we already discussed, this amount is changing, so because here I decrease the amount, and sometime amount is same, so amount is changing, and sometime index is changing but sometime index is not changing. So it means amount and index, there are two parameters based on which we are deriving the solution. So it means what I can do, you can choose this variable, maybe a map where there is a key, and key can be composed of amount and index, and there will be a value. Value is basically the number of ways, it is integer, or in this example we can simply use integer array. It's a 2D array because we as we saw, we need two indexes based on which we are getting the final answer, and I will name it as memo and new integer. And what will be the length of these two array? The final amount value, which is basically 10, and in Java index start from 0, so 0 to 10, it means total 11. So I need to have amount plus 1. Okay, same way for storing this second parameter, I will see what is the length of the array, 4. So it means I just need one more to store from 0 to 4. So I will say coins dot length plus 1. So I have created a integer array. Now you can ask me why I am using this integer object array and not this integer array. Because this integer array has a property that whatever values are not initialized, they will be null. So in case I need to know whether I have updated any particular value in this integer 2D array, I just need to check whether at that position I have null. If I have null, it means there is no answer for that solution, and if it is not null, it means there is an answer and I can simply return it. So that's the easy way to do it. You can find other ways to do it, but I find this easy. And let's do one change. Let's pass this memo variable here, and let's read this memo variable here, integer 2D array, and at the same time you can leave this base condition as it is, or you can do one thing. And what you can do at the top, you can simply, maybe at the first line only, you can simply check if this 2D array for this particular amount and for this particular index not equals null, so it means we have already solved this problem, then simply return this value. So simply return memo of amount and index, that's it. And what we can do here at the end, what we are doing here, okay, we are having two function calls, so I just need to add one more parameter here. And once this final answer is calculated, I just need to store it. So in memo of amount of and index, you just store this value, and at the end either return this base or return this value, it doesn't matter. So let me just return this value, and I think I'm done. Let me try to run it. Okay, so you can see I am getting again answer as 4, and this time what has happened, so whenever I am calling this function second time for the same amount and index which is already pre-generated, so I will not go and again check including, excluding, and again doing a recursive call. So I will stop at one place. So maximum I will be solving this problem for this integer 2D array memo size, you can say. And what is the size of it? It's basically amount into or multiply by coins dot length. So this will be the maximum number of calls. So we have reduced our solution from exponential for amount into coins dot length, and even the space complexity will come from here and recursive call. Okay, so space complexity will again come from these two calls, these two recursive call, and also from this memo array. And this memo array is again a size of amount times coins dot length, and this recursive call also now we have made sure it will not go more than coins into number coins dot length, because we are storing the result. So time and space complexity both will be order of amount times coins dot length. So we have seen the first approach, top down. So it's basically recursion plus memoization. How come we came to this solution? First we wrote an recursive solution, and we just added one memoization step over there. Let me solve it using bottom up, which is basically iterative plus tabulation approach.